On the distant planet Xyler, the sky was a strange shade of green, casting long shadows over the jagged mountains and metal cities that rose like towers from the ground. The planet had been quiet for many cycles, but now something had changed. Humans, who had been watching quietly from the edges of the galaxy, knew something terrible was happening. Reports had reached them that an alien species, cruel and arrogant, had captured human children. The aliens had no respect for life, and the children were being used for strange experiments that no human could understand. Anna, a human envoy, stood at the edge of the alien council hall. She was calm, but her mind was sharp. Her eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail: the polished walls, the strange technology, the flickering lights, and the alien leaders who sat before her. They were taller than humans, with long arms and pale, mottled skin. Their eyes glowed faintly as they regarded her, curious and amused. The aliens laughed when Anna began to speak. "Why have you come here?" one of them hissed, its voice like scraping metal. "You are weak. You cannot stop us. The children belong to us now." Anna's lips pressed into a thin line, but she did not move back. She took a slow, steady breath. "Hurt one child," she said quietly, "and you will pay the price." The aliens chuckled again, louder this time. They leaned forward, trying to appear threatening, but their laughter hid a small flicker of uncertainty. They had never seen humans act like this, so calm, so certain, without raising a weapon, without shouting or demanding. Anna's words carried no fear, yet they carried something heavier, something they could not name. Anna knew that words alone would not stop them. But sometimes the first warning was enough to plant a seed of doubt. She had studied the aliens' behavior for years. She knew they thrived on arrogance and cruelty, but she also knew that humans had patience. Humans were not quick to anger, but when they acted with intelligence and strategy. The aliens' leader, a creature called Galthor, stood slowly. His body towered over Anna, his arms reaching almost to the ground. "And what do you mean by pay the price?" he asked, his voice heavy with mockery. "What can weak humans do against us?" Anna stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "You will see," she said simply. There was no threat in her tone, no anger, only certainty. And yet, even in their arrogance, the aliens could feel it. The calmness was a weapon they did not understand. The room fell quiet for a moment. Some of the alien leaders looked uneasy, though they would not admit it openly. They had never been confronted like this. Humans were known for their unpredictability, but they had never been faced with one who could speak with such confidence without showing fear. Outside the council hall, the wind blew across the jagged mountains. Anna's team had positioned itself around the city. They watched quietly, ready for anything, but their orders were clear. For now, this was only a warning. They would not strike yet. The children had to be safe, and this was the first step in showing the aliens that humans were not a species to be toyed with. Inside, Galthor's eyes narrowed. He turned to his advisors and hissed. "This human, she is not like the others. She is too calm, too sure. She knows something we do not." The other aliens laughed again, trying to cover their unease. But the laughter did not reach their eyes. Deep down, they felt a flicker of fear, though none of them would speak it aloud. Humans were clever, patient, and willing to wait for the perfect moment to act. And humans valued their children more than anything else in the galaxy. Anna knew this. She had grown up on a human colony far from Earth, in a system where survival had always been difficult. She had seen cruelty, she had faced danger, and she had learned that patience and planning often mattered more than strength or speed. That knowledge gave her confidence now. She did not need to threaten with weapons. Her presence, her calmness, and her certainty were weapons enough. Galthor leaned closer, studying her face. "Do you think your words will scare us?" he asked. Anna shook her head slightly. "No," she said. "They are not meant to scare you. They are meant to prepare you. You may not understand yet, but the time will come when you will wish you had listened." The aliens did not respond. Some whispered to one another, unsure what to make of her. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but this human woman was different. She carried something invisible yet heavy, a weight of determination and intelligence that pressed down on anyone who underestimated her. Anna turned slightly and gestured toward the city's gates. "We are watching," she said. "Every action you take against our children will be observed. Every cruelty will be noted. And when the time comes, there will be consequences." The aliens laughed again, but it was weaker this time. Something in Anna's voice had reached them, though they did not understand it fully. Her words were calm, but they carried the quiet strength of a species that protected its young above all else. Outside, the wind shifted, and a small bird-like creature fluttered across the jagged rocks. It was a simple reminder of life and freedom. Anna watched it for a moment, and then her gaze returned to the alien council. She did not flinch. She did not shout. She simply stood there, steady as a mountain, a quiet warning against those who thought they could harm humans with impunity. Hours passed. Anna's team maintained their positions, hidden and ready. The aliens continued their counsel, but the mood had shifted. There was a small unease in the air, a whisper of doubt that had not been there before. Humans were patient, yes, but they were also clever. They valued life and knew how to act when it mattered most. And the aliens had just been reminded that humans would not stand idle when their children were in danger. As the sun began to set over Xylar, casting long orange and red shadows across the metal towers, Anna spoke one last time. "We are not your enemies," she said softly, "but we are your guardians. Hurt one child and you will see the truth of who we are." The council fell silent. Galther's eyes flickered with something Anna could not name, fear, perhaps, or respect. It did not matter. The warning had been given. Humans were watching. And the aliens, for all their power and arrogance, had been reminded that some lines could never be crossed without dire consequences. Anna stepped back from the council hall. Her mission for now was complete. The children remained safe and the first warning had been delivered. She did not need to celebrate or raise her voice. She had done what humans always did. They acted with purpose, patience, and intelligence. The aliens, meanwhile, could not stop thinking about her words. The laughter they had used to cover their fear had faded. They had underestimated humans once again. And the consequences of that underestimation had only just begun. Outside, Anna's team gathered quietly, their faces serious but determined. They had witnessed the council's reaction. They knew the next steps would be dangerous, but they also knew humans were never weak when protecting what mattered most. And above all, the children were safe, at least for now. The green sky over Xylar darkened as the night came, stars beginning to glimmer in the distance. Anna looked up, her eyes steady, her mind clear. The aliens had been warned. The humans were ready. And if anyone dared harm their children, they would pay a price that no one in the galaxy could imagine. And so, on that quiet, strange planet under a green sky, a simple truth had been declared. Humans protected their own, and no species, no matter how powerful, could ignore that warning without consequences. Anna turned to her team one last time. "Stay alert," she said. "The next steps will come soon. But remember, we do not rush. We act when it is needed, and we act with certainty." The team nodded. They understood. The warning had been delivered. The aliens had been reminded. And humanity had once again shown that it was not to be underestimated. The wind blew across the jagged mountains, carrying a quiet promise through the metal city of Xylar. The children were safe, the humans were watching, and anyone foolish enough to harm the innocent would face the consequences of a species that never forgave. The night on Xylar was deep and quiet, but beneath the calm surface, tension moved like a living thing. In the alien city, lights flickered over sharp metal towers, casting long shadows across empty streets. Inside one of the largest facilities, human children slept in secure cells, unaware of the danger surrounding them. Their dreams were fragile, simple, and innocent, a contrast to the cruel aliens who watched over them, proud of their control. Far outside, hidden in the jagged hills, a human team waited. They were small in number but precise in their actions. Ben, the leader, crouched on a rocky ridge, observing the base through a high-powered scope. His eyes were calm but alert, taking in every movement, every patrolling alien, every detail of the structure they needed to enter. "Remember," Ben whispered, barely moving his lips, "we leave no trace. We take only the children and nothing else. No noise, no alarms. Do it clean or we fail." The team nodded. Each member was trained for situations exactly like this: quick, silent, efficient. Anna's warning had reached the aliens, but they still thought humans were cautious and weak. They did not expect to strike at this hour, and that misjudgment would become their first mistake. Ben led the way down the rocky slope, moving with careful steps. The air was thin, cold, and sharp, but humans had adapted to conditions far harsher on distant worlds. The base lay just ahead, lit by eerie green lamps that glowed against the steel walls. Guards walked in patterns, predictable but still dangerous. One false step, one alarm triggered, and the plan would be lost. Inside the alien base, the children slept on hard metal platforms. They were too young to understand the danger, too innocent to fear. Some had small toys they held tightly, little fragments of comfort in an otherwise cruel environment. Their eyes fluttered under lids, dreams untroubled by the shadows around them. Ben signaled to the team. Two members, Lucy and Sam, moved forward first. They had studied the patrol patterns for weeks, memorized every corridor, every corner. They carried only small packs, enough for essentials and tools designed to open alien locks silently. The first lock clicked open without sound, and the cell door slid aside. The children stirred slightly but did not wake. Lucy bent down, whispering softly, "It's okay, we're here to help. You're safe now." Even in the dark, the children sensed the calm authority in her voice. Their fear did not vanish entirely, but it was replaced by a quiet hope. They were human children, and somehow they recognized that these strangers from their own species, meant protection. One by one, the children were guided into the shadows, each movement carefully measured, precise, silent. The team worked efficiently, never rushing, never panicking. Each second mattered, and Ben watched the guards' patrols, signaling when it was safe to move forward. Outside, the alien patrols continued, unaware that humans had already infiltrated their base. They were overconfident, distracted by their own arrogance. They did not notice the faint shadows slipping through corridors, the quiet presence of humans who moved like ghosts. As the last child was moved to safety, Ben felt a small surge of relief, tempered by the knowledge that the hardest part was still ahead, getting out without leaving a trace. The team retraced their steps, careful not to trigger alarms. Doors were locked again, tools wiped clean of fingerprints, corridors returned to the way they had been found. Nothing was left behind except the empty cells and the children safely hidden in the shadows. Finally, the humans reached the extraction point, a rocky outcrop just beyond the base's perimeter. The children were safe, huddled together, exhausted but unafraid. Ben crouched beside them, speaking softly. "You are safe now," he said. "We are your family tonight. We will take you home." Lucy placed a reassuring hand on the shoulder of a small boy who had not spoken since they entered the base. "We will not let them hurt you," she whispered. "Do you understand?" The boy nodded slowly. His eyes were wide but calm. For the first time in weeks, perhaps months, he felt that humans would protect him. And in that moment, the team knew they had succeeded. But Ben's mind was never far from the bigger picture. This was not only about rescuing a few children, it was about sending a message. Humans were not weak. They were precise, intelligent, and willing to act when it mattered most. And the aliens needed to understand that, even if they had laughed at Anna's warning hours earlier. Ben pulled out a small device from his pack. He pressed a few buttons and a holographic message was left at the edge of the alien base. It flickered once and then displayed a simple line in alien symbols, which they would read as clearly as humans could. "Do not underestimate us." No threats, no shouting, no displays of force. Only clarity. The aliens would know humans had acted, had succeeded, and could strike again if provoked. It was a quiet, efficient warning, a lesson wrapped in precision. The team led the children down a winding path through the jagged hills. The night was cold, but humans were used to extremes. The children's hands were small and cold in theirs, but they held them firmly. Each step was measured, each breath quiet. They were leaving no trace of their presence, just shadows in the night, carrying the innocent away from danger. When they reached a small clearing, the team paused. Ben looked back at the alien base, distant and quiet now, unaware of the loss that had occurred. For the first time, the aliens might feel a flicker of fear, though they would not understand it yet. "Rest," Ben said to the children. "You've done well just by staying calm. The rest is up to us." He turned to the team. Lucy, Sam, and the others nodded, their faces serious but satisfied. They had completed the mission perfectly. No alarms triggered, no trace left. The children were safe and the message was clear. The team began moving toward the extraction ships waiting at the far edge of the valley. As they moved, Ben spoke softly to his team. "Tonight, we reminded them who humans are. Remember this moment. Every time someone doubts us, they must remember this night." Lucy smiled faintly. "Simple, quiet, precise. That's all it took." Ben nodded. "Yes, but it is enough. They will remember. We have made our point without spilling a drop of blood unnecessarily. That is human strength. We act when needed. We protect what matters most." The children slept quietly in the folds of cloaks and blankets, safe and warm. Their dreams were no longer filled with fear but with the quiet comfort of human protection. They were too young to understand the depth of the danger, but in time they would know. They would know that humans were guardians above all else. When the extraction ships lifted into the sky, leaving Xyler behind, the team looked down at the alien base. Nothing had changed for the aliens except for one truth. Humans had struck, and they had done so with intelligence, care, and precision. The aliens would not forget this. Their arrogance had been met with patient, calculated action. And if they continued to harm human children, they would face the consequences of a species that did not forgive, did not forget, and acted when it mattered most. The stars above Xyler shone cold and distant, but to the humans below they were a promise that their people, their children, and their way of life would never be weak again. Ben looked at the children sleeping in the safety of the ship. They will grow knowing humans protect what matters most, he said softly. And one day they will teach others the same lesson. The team remained silent, letting the words sink in. No celebration was needed. They had acted with purpose, and purpose was enough. The aliens had learned a quiet lesson tonight. Humans were precise, patient, and unstoppable when defending their own. The ship vanished into the night sky, leaving the planet behind, the green light of its towers fading. Xyler had been marked, not by weapons, not by violence, but by human intelligence and determination. And far below, in the empty corridors of the alien base, small traces of the rescue lingered. The aliens would notice eventually. They would feel the weight of this first strike, and they would begin to understand the warning that Anna had given just hours before. Humans had acted. They had rescued their own. And the galaxy would see that anyone foolish enough to harm human children would face consequences beyond imagination. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous, filled with representatives from dozens of worlds. Towering columns stretched to the ceiling, glowing softly with energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. Outside, massive windows showed the galaxy, glittering with stars, while ships drifted silently in orbit. The chamber was designed for diplomacy, for discussion, for control, but now it was filled with tension. The aliens from Xyler entered quickly, moving with their usual arrogance. Their leader, Galthor, stepped forward, his long arms swinging slightly as he addressed the council. Humans are dangerous, he said. They are unpredictable, patient, and clever. They act when you do not expect it. They have already struck, rescuing children from our hands without warning or permission. Murmurs filled the chamber. The council members were a mix of species, each with its own ways of communication. Some whispered, others gestured with strange appendages. All eyes turned to Galthor as he continued. They leave no trace. They do not boast, they do not threaten. And yet they succeed. This is a species that must be stopped before it grows stronger. For a moment, silence hung in the room. Some council members looked uneasy. Humans had always been considered a young species, new to galactic politics, curious and intelligent but small and weak compared to older, stronger species. They had observed humans carefully but had never faced them directly. Now, evidence from Xyler showed that humans were more than clever, they were precise, patient, and dangerous if pushed. Anna and Ben watched from a hidden observation area. They had disguised themselves using human technology that made them invisible to most sensors, and they had positioned themselves near the council chamber months earlier. This was not a time for confrontation. This was a time for learning. Every gesture, every word, every hint of doubt was valuable. Ben leaned closer to Anna. They're underestimating us, he said quietly. But look at them. They're worried. That's progress. Anna nodded. Yes. Watch carefully. We need to know how they think, how they plan, how they argue. We act when the time is right. Until then, observation is enough. Inside the council, debate began. Counselor Rena, a tall being with crystalline skin, spoke first. We have faced many species, she said, but humans, they are different. They strike with intelligence. They protect their own above all else. The reports from Xyler are troubling. We cannot dismiss them lightly. Another member, a short, green-skinned creature named Caro, waved long fingers in frustration. We do not even know their full capabilities. They appear small, weak, almost harmless. And yet they have rescued their children and returned without loss. How is this possible? Galthor's eyes glowed with impatience. It is exactly why I am here. Humans are not to be trusted. They act outside the rules. They threaten stability in the galaxy. If we do not act, their patience and intelligence will allow them to grow stronger, until no species can oppose them. Counselor Rena's crystalline skin reflected the light of the chamber. We must be cautious, she said. To confront humans directly could provoke them. But to ignore them would be foolish. Their actions on Xyler were not reckless. They were planned, precise, and executed perfectly. A young species has shown skills that many older species lack. The chamber buzzed with discussion. Some council members leaned forward, curious, whispering to their neighbors. Others shook their heads, struggling to reconcile the humans' appearance with their growing reputation. Humans were clever, yes, but they were not powerful in armies, nor were they technologically dominant. at least that was the assumption. Ben whispered to Anna, "They're starting to realize we're not just lucky. They're trying to figure out how we think." Anna smiled faintly. "Exactly. That is all we need for now. Let them wonder. Let them worry. And never show more than they are allowed to see." The debate grew louder. A tall, multi-limbed species named Orvik spoke, his voice like a low hum. "I have seen reports from the edges of the galaxy. Humans act in small teams, but they are efficient, precise, and never reckless. Their patience is frightening. They observe, they wait, and then they act when the moment is perfect. Any species that can do this is dangerous." Galther's head turned sharply. "Dangerous is an understatement. They are a threat to the very order we maintain. They protect their young above all else. If they are pushed, they will act, and the results will be catastrophic for anyone in their path." The council shifted uneasily. Humans were patient, yes, but patience paired with intelligence and skill was something few species had ever encountered. The Xyler incident was proof. Humans had struck silently, taken what mattered most to them and left no trace. They had warned, but they had not fought openly. The council members could feel that quiet tension. Humans were not reckless. They were not loud. But they were unstoppable if provoked. Anna and Ben continued to watch. Every gesture, every glance, every whisper among the council was carefully noted. "They're afraid," Ben said softly. "Not openly but under the surface. They don't know what to do about us." Anna nodded. "Yes. But fear is useful only if we wait. We act when necessary. Not now. Now we observe." Meanwhile, back in the council chamber, debate continued. Councillor Rena spoke again. "We must gather more information. We cannot act against humans until we understand them fully. Their intelligence, patience, and loyalty to their young make them unpredictable. The Xyler incident has proven this. Any direct confrontation may provoke them in ways we cannot imagine." Caro, the green-skinned member, looked frustrated. "But what if they strike again? They are not attacking for greed or conquest. They act for protection. How do we prepare for a species that strikes only when it matters, and never unnecessarily?" Galther's glowing eyes swept over the chamber. "We prepare carefully. But know this, humans are not to be underestimated. Their patience is a weapon. Their precision is a weapon. And their loyalty to their own is absolute. Any species foolish enough to test them will learn that lesson too late." The council murmured, uneasy. Humans had been underestimated too many times before, and now the evidence was undeniable. They were clever, patient, and efficient, and they acted only when it was absolutely necessary. That combination made them dangerous in ways few species could comprehend. Anna whispered to Ben, "Notice how they hesitate. The doubt is growing. That is what we need. We do not need to threaten or act violently yet. Their fear is growing quietly, and it is more effective than any battle." Ben nodded. "Exactly. They think humans are small, young, and weak. And yet, one strike, one precise action, and they are unsure. They do not know what we are capable of." As the council continued its debate, Anna and Ben studied the interactions, the strategies, the fears, and the plans of every member. They learned what species relied on strength, which relied on intelligence, and which underestimated human patience. Every observation added to their understanding. Every whispered worry, every hesitant decision, every glance of doubt was valuable. Outside, the galaxy stretched endlessly. Ships moved silently between stars, trading routes and patrols flowing like veins across the vastness of space. Humans were watching from hidden locations, ready to act if needed. But for now, the mission was observation, understanding, and patience. Every council member was under scrutiny, and every misstep would be remembered. Back in the chamber, Galther's voice was louder now, filled with frustration. "We cannot control humans. We cannot predict them. And yet, they have shown us that they act when it matters most, with precision and intelligence. This is not a species to ignore." Councillor Rena's crystalline form shimmered. "We must respect them then. Humans are not reckless. They are intelligent and patient. Their actions on Xyler prove this. We must adjust our assumptions." The chamber grew quiet. The message was clear. Humans were unlike any species the council had faced before. They were young, yes, but they were clever, patient, and capable of acting with deadly precision. They were not loud or aggressive, but they were unstoppable when protecting what mattered most. Anna and Ben remained in their observation point. "They are beginning to see us clearly," Anna said softly. "Not as weak humans, not as children, but as a species to be reckoned with." Ben nodded. "They do not yet know our limits. But that is not necessary. Observation is enough for now. We wait, we learn, and we act only when necessary. The council's debate continued, but now doubt had replaced arrogance. Every member knew, even if they did not admit it, that humans were clever, patient, and precise. They were capable of defending themselves and their young, and they could strike with deadly accuracy if pushed too far. Anna whispered, "Patience. Everything is patience. Let them worry. Let them plan. Let them underestimate us. And when it is time, they will see the truth of who we are." Ben smiled faintly. "Exactly. They are learning. Slowly, quietly, but they are learning." And in the quiet observation rooms above the council chamber, humans watched, learned, and waited. The galaxy had begun to understand that humans were unlike any species it had ever faced. They were intelligent, patient, and precise, and when provoked, they would act without hesitation, and always for what mattered most. The stars outside shimmered in silence, a reminder that the humans were present, watching, and ready. And the council, though it did not yet know it fully, had begun to feel a quiet fear of a species that acted only when necessary, but when it did, no one could stop it. The alien moon over Xylar glowed pale and cold, casting long silver shadows across the metal towers of the city. In the streets below, the city was quiet, almost peaceful. But beneath that calm, humans prepared. They had learned from every previous encounter. The warning, the first rescue, the observations at the council. They knew the aliens would strike again, and they were ready this time. Lucy, a skilled human operative, crouched behind a ridge overlooking one of the alien research complexes. Her dark hair blew slightly in the cold wind, and her eyes scanned the building carefully. She counted guards, noted patrol patterns, and memorized every detail of the facility. Her mind was calm, sharp, and focused. Every movement mattered. Every second could save or cost lives. Beside her, two other operatives, Max and Leah, adjusted their gear. Each carried small packs containing what was needed: tools for unlocking alien doors, small shields for emergencies, and cloaking devices that rendered them nearly invisible. The children were the most important, and Lucy had a single rule: they would leave no child behind. The children inside the complex had been moved to new holding areas after the last incident. The aliens, thinking they were smarter this time, had increased security, believing the humans would not risk another strike. But the humans had anticipated their arrogance. They knew the aliens relied on routine and predictability, and humans used that knowledge to their advantage. Lucy signaled to Max and Leah. They moved silently through the rocky terrain, careful to stay out of sight of patrol drones that scanned the perimeter. Using small devices, Lucy opened a hatch leading into a maintenance tunnel beneath the facility. The tunnel smelled faintly of metal and oil. It was narrow and dark, but humans were trained for this. They moved through it like shadows, silent and precise, hearts steady despite the danger above. Inside the facility, the children were awake. They had been moved into a large holding chamber, walls of polished metal surrounding them, guards pacing in patterns that seemed random but were predictable to those who had studied them. The children clutched each other, fear still lingering from past cruelty. But Lucy and her team had prepared a message. Even if the children could not fully understand the danger, they would feel the calm confidence of humans protecting them. Lucy stepped into the shadows of the chamber. She activated a small device that muted sound in the area, making their movements completely silent. "Stay calm," she whispered to the children. "We are here to take you home. You are safe with us." Some children blinked at her, unsure. Others clutched their small blankets tighter. But in her voice, in her calmness, they recognized safety. It was a human instinct, they could feel it even in strangers. The team moved quickly, guiding the children one by one into the tunnels. Each step was precise, each movement deliberate. The alien guards, confident in their routines, did not notice the invisible humans slipping past them. And in the control room above, the alien leaders monitored screens, convinced their security measures were flawless. Lucy knew exactly what to do. "Remember the plan," she whispered to her team. "We leave no trace. Doors reset, systems appear untouched. Only the children leave with us." As they moved, an alarm was triggered, not by them but by the aliens' own security systems responding to a minor glitch. Immediately, the aliens assumed the humans had made a mistake. They dispatched more guards, moving quickly, believing the humans were trapped or reckless. They did not see the trap coming. Lucy and her team had anticipated this. The tunnels they used led to small chambers that allowed them to monitor the alien response. Every patrol sent after them walked into a carefully prepared path. The humans had created decoys, small illusions, and false trails that would confuse any pursuers. Max whispered, "They'll never find us this way." Lucy nodded. Exactly. They think they are in control. That is their mistake. The children were guided along, huddled together but calm now. Each child's small hand was held firmly by a human operative, ensuring that even in the shadows, no one was lost. They moved through corridors and tunnels, following paths only humans knew existed, leading them away from the main facility. In the control room, alien leaders watched the screens in confusion. Every alert they received was false, every signal misleading. They had believed their new security measures would prevent human interference, but humans had already thought several steps ahead. Panic began to ripple quietly among them. They had faced humans before, yes, but never like this. Never with such precision, such patience, and such intelligence. Lucy stopped for a moment, crouching in a narrow tunnel that overlooked a small chamber below. "Almost there," she whispered. "Keep moving, keep calm." The children followed, eyes wide but trusting. They did not fully understand the danger, but they understood Lucy's voice, the firm hand guiding them, the careful movements that promised protection. Humans protected what mattered most. And that truth was stronger than any weapon. Outside, the alien patrols moved frantically, trying to locate the intruders. Every action they took was anticipated. Every patrol led into blind alleys, false corridors, and dead ends. For the first time, fear entered their hearts. They had underestimated humans and now they felt it, an unfamiliar sensation, heavy and cold. Lucy's team finally reached the extraction point. It was a small clearing in the jagged hills surrounding the city, hidden from view by rocks and shadows. Small ships hovered silently above, ready to take the children to safety. The humans moved quickly, loading each child carefully, ensuring none was left behind. Max looked back toward the city. "They'll never expect this," he said softly. "Not a single trace." Lucy smiled faintly. "That's the point. They think they are in control but they are not. Humans always protect their own. They may not fight openly but when it matters they act." The ships lifted smoothly, carrying the children away from the city, away from danger. The aliens, watching from below, realized too late that they had been outsmarted. Their arrogance had blinded them. They had thought humans weak, reckless, and naive. Now they felt something new, fear. Every leader in the alien council would remember this night. Every cruel decision, every past act of harm toward human children would be weighed against the precision and intelligence of humans. For the first time, they understood that attacking or harming children was not a trivial matter, it was a direct invitation to destruction. Lucy watched the ships ascend, her face calm but satisfied. "They will think twice next time," she said. And every time after that. The children looked out at the stars, their small hands gripping the sides of the ship. They were safe. Their fear was replaced by quiet hope, and the knowledge, deep in their young hearts, that humans would always protect them. Lucy's team remained vigilant until the ships were safely away. Only then did they relax slightly, knowing their mission had succeeded. The aliens had been defeated not by force alone, but by intelligence, preparation, and the unwavering human instinct to protect the young. Back in the city, alien leaders stared at empty corridors and security reports filled with false alarms. Confusion and fear replaced their previous arrogance. They had believed they were in control, but humans had shown them otherwise. Lucy whispered to her team, "Remember this. Humans do not need to fight openly to win. Precision, patience, and purpose are enough. Protect what matters most and nothing else can defeat you." The team nodded, silent and focused. They had saved the children, outsmarted the aliens, and left a clear message. Anyone who harmed human children would face consequences they could not survive. As the ships carried the children to safety, Lucy watched the green glow of Xyler fade into the distance. The aliens had learned a lesson tonight, one that would echo across the galaxy. Humans were not to be underestimated, and their devotion to their young was absolute. For the first time, fear had entered alien hearts. They now understood the cost of cruelty, the power of patience, and the quiet strength of a species willing to do whatever it took to protect its children. Lucy turned to her team. "The children are safe," she said softly, "and that is all that matters. For the rest, let the galaxy learn." The ships disappeared into the night sky, carrying the sacred children to safety, leaving behind a city filled with confusion, doubt, and the first taste of fear. Humans had acted, and the galaxy would never forget it. And on that quiet, silver-lit night over Xyler, one truth became clear to all who watched and to those who had been too cruel. Humans protected their own above all else, and anyone foolish enough to harm them would pay the highest price imaginable. The galaxy felt different after the last rescue. Ships moved more carefully. Messages were sent with softer words. Even the stars seemed to watch. Humans had been patient for a long time, but now patience was no longer enough. The line had been crossed too many times. Humans acted. Far from Xyler, human fleets moved into position. They did not announce themselves. They did not demand surrender. They did not shout warnings across open channels. They moved with calm purpose, like a storm that had already decided where it would land. Mark stood on the bridge of a human command ship. He was not loud. He did not look angry. His hands rested calmly on the console as he studied the holographic display of alien fleets and research stations spread across multiple systems. Every target was marked. Every path was planned. Beside him stood Sarah, her eyes focused and steady. She had helped design the operation from the beginning. "All systems are ready," she said quietly. "No civilian zones. No child facilities anywhere near the targets." Mark nodded. "Good. That matters." That was the human way. Precision first. Purpose always. Across the galaxy, alien fleets waited in what they believed were strong positions. They still believed humans would not dare strike openly. They believed humans would hesitate, argue in councils, or try to negotiate. They were wrong. The first human ships arrived without being detected. They used silent drives and shadow fields that bent light and signals away from sensors. By the time alien commanders noticed something was wrong, it was already too late to react. Human teams moved through space like whispers. They did not fire wildly. They did not destroy without reason. Instead, they disabled engines, shut down power cores, and locked weapon systems in place. Entire alien fleets drifted helplessly, silent and dark, without a single warning shot fired. Alien commanders shouted orders that went nowhere. Controls did not respond. Weapons refused to power up. Navigation systems went blind. Panic spread through their ships like a slow-burning fire. "How is this possible?" one alien officer cried. "They haven't attacked. They haven't fired." But that was the attack. At the same time, human strike teams reached alien research facilities across multiple planets. These places had once been symbols of alien pride and cruelty. Now they were emptying quickly. Humans moved through them with calm speed, shutting down systems, locking doors, and sealing labs permanently. Sarah watched reports flow in. "Facility 12 is down. No resistance. Facility 19 secured. All data copied and sealed." Mark did not smile. "Any children?" "None," Sarah replied. "They pulled back after the last rescues. They knew better." Mark exhaled slowly. They learned something at least. The aliens tried to call the Galactic Council. Messages flooded the communication networks. Fear replaced anger. Arrogance vanished. "We are under attack," one message cried. "Human fleets are everywhere," another warned. "They are not destroying us, but they are taking everything." In the council chamber, panic spread faster than words. Representatives shouted over one another, struggling to understand what was happening. Screens showed drifting fleets, powerless stations, and silent systems. Council members stared in disbelief. Humans were not conquering worlds. They were not claiming territory. They were not demanding tribute. They were removing the aliens' ability to cause harm. One council member whispered, "They are not fighting a war. They are ending a threat." Anna watched the council from a secure channel. Ben stood beside her, arms crossed. Neither spoke for a long moment. "They finally understand," Ben said quietly. Anna nodded. "Yes. This is what real strength looks like." Back in space, Mark gave a single command. Phase 2. Human ships transmitted a message across all open channels. It was short. Clear. Come. Hurt human children and your species will face extinction. No shouting. No insults. No threats beyond that simple truth. The message echoed across the galaxy. Every alien leader heard it. Every fleet commander saw it. Every council member felt its weight. And for the first time they believed it. The aliens' arrogance crumbled. They had believed strength meant size, weapons, and fear. Humans had shown them something else. Strength was patience. Strength was planning. Strength was knowing exactly when to act, and acting without hesitation. Human fleets did not stay longer than needed. Once systems were disabled and facilities sealed, they withdrew. They left no occupation forces. No flags. No monuments. Only silence and understanding. Sarah watched the final reports. All objectives complete. No civilian harm. No children harmed anywhere. Mark allowed himself a small nod. That's the victory. In the council chamber, silence fell. No one laughed now. No one argued. They had seen what humans could do when pushed too far. Not rage. Not chaos. Control. Council members began to speak more carefully. We must change our policies, one said. We must never allow harm to human young again, another added. We must treat humans as equals or more, a third whispered. Anna closed the channel. They won't forget this. Ben looked out at the stars. No, they won't. Across the galaxy, alien fleets drifted powerless but intact. Research stations stood silent but whole. Humans had taken everything that mattered and destroyed nothing that did not. That frightened the galaxy more than destruction ever could. Because now they understood the truth. Humans were not violent by nature. They were not cruel. But when their children were threatened, they became something unstoppable. And the Council finally understood humanity's true strength. The sky above Xylar was calm, a soft shade of blue and silver reflecting off the distant towers that once echoed with fear. But the calm was different now. It was not the silence of peace forced by domination. It was quiet born from understanding. The aliens below no longer laughed or mocked. Their arrogance had been replaced with careful hesitation. For the first time in generations, they understood the humans they had tried to test, and failed to break. In orbit above the planet, human ships waited silently. Anna, Ben, Lucy, Mark, and Sarah watched from the bridge of the largest vessel. The children they had saved were already on their way to safe planets, under human care. Each child was protected, shielded, and reassured. Their small hands held in the hands of operatives who had given everything to ensure they would be safe. And now, after months of careful strategy, countless rescues, and precise action, the humans had completed what they had set out to do. Anna stood at the observation window, her eyes scanning the horizon of Xylar. The planet looked the same as it always had, cities of steel and alien architecture, but underneath it, everything had changed. The aliens had felt fear. They had understood that humans were not reckless, not loud, not boastful. They acted with precision, patience, and purpose. And they had done so without unnecessary violence. Ben stood beside her, silent for a moment, letting the weight of it all settle. They'll never forget this, he said quietly. Anna nodded. No, they won't. And they'll think twice before ever touching human children again. That's the legacy we leave behind. Lucy adjusted the straps on her pack and leaned slightly over the railing. She had been part of every rescue, every infiltration, every operation that had tested humans' patience and cunning. She knew the aliens had watched carefully, thinking they were in control. But they had been wrong. Every move humans had made had been calculated. Every strike had been deliberate. Every child had been saved. They'll rebuild, she said softly, but this time carefully. They won't make the same mistakes. Mark nodded. And that's enough. Humans don't need to destroy worlds. We only need to protect what matters. Sarah, standing a little behind, added, It's strange, isn't it? They'll remember us without ever really seeing us. All we did was act quietly, carefully, and effectively. And it changed everything. The Council, which had once underestimated humans, was now filled with cautious respect. Words were chosen carefully. Strategies considered more carefully. Every member knew that humans acted not out of anger but out of necessity. And when necessary, their precision and patience were unmatched. Below, on Xylar, alien leaders moved silently through their cities. They checked patrols, reorganized fleets, and examined research facilities. Nothing was destroyed, nothing taken beyond repair, yet every system had been reminded of human intelligence and patience. Fear lingered, quiet and persistent, in their hearts. They had learned the hard way that cruelty toward human children carried consequences no species could ignore. Anna turned to Ben. Do you think they understand why we act quietly? She asked. They understand enough, Ben replied. We didn't need to shout. We didn't need to fight openly. We only needed to show them that humans protect their own. That's enough. It will echo through every world, every fleet, every council in the galaxy. Lucy smiled faintly. It's strange, isn't it? We never boasted. We never demanded recognition. And yet, the galaxy knows our strength now. Mark crossed his arms. That's the human way. We don't need praise. We don't need glory. We only need to do what must be done and make sure the people we care for are safe. Sarah looked toward the stars. The children are safe. The galaxy has learned. And now we leave quietly. That's the true power, the ability to act, protect, and then disappear, leaving the lesson behind. The ships began to move, one by one, lifting into orbit and leaving Xylar behind. The planet's green towers faded in the distance, a reminder that even great civilizations could be humbled not by aggression, but by care, patience, and intelligence. Anna watched the horizon until the last tower disappeared from view. They will remember us in their own way, she said. Not as conquerors, not as loud threats, but as humans who protect what matters most. Ben nodded. And that is enough. The galaxy doesn't need us to be everywhere. It only needs to know that when we act with purpose, and no one harms our own without paying the price. Lucy, leaning back against the railing, added, the children will grow knowing humans protect them. And one day they'll teach others what we have shown today. That legacy will last longer than any fleet or weapon ever could. Mark turned to look at his team. We acted. We protected. We warned. Now it's time to leave. Quietly. The galaxy has learned its lesson. Sarah smiled, a rare, small smile. And the lesson is clear. Humans do not strike without reason, but if reason demands, no one can stop us. As the ships glided through the quiet void of space, the stars seemed to stretch endlessly ahead. Xyler was left behind, the children safe, the aliens shaken, and the Council's wisdom forever changed. Below, on the alien worlds, whispers spread. Fleet commanders spoke quietly to one another. Leaders hesitated before giving cruel orders. And everywhere, in every corner of the galaxy, the reputation of humans grew, not for violence, not for war, but for intelligence, patience, and an unshakable dedication to protect their own. Anna, Ben, Lucy, Mark, and Sarah did not speak of their victories. There was no celebration. They had acted, and now they returned to quiet observation, ready for the next challenge if it arose. Their strength was not in showing force but in knowing when to act, how to act, and who to protect. And that understanding would last forever. The galaxy had learned its lesson. The Council would never forget it. The aliens would never forget it. Every species, from the smallest trader ship to the largest war fleet, now knew, humans protect their own above all else. And anyone foolish enough to harm them, or their children, would face consequences no one could escape. Anna looked at her team, quietly proud, not for herself, but for the truth they had shown the galaxy. We leave them with a choice, she said softly. Respect humans or pay the price. Ben nodded. And the choice is always clear. Lucy added, the lesson will echo across time. We do not boast. We do not threaten unnecessarily. We act when it matters and we protect what matters most. Mark's voice was quiet but firm. That is human strength. That is our legacy. Sarah smiled at the stars ahead. And now we leave. Quietly. Let the galaxy remember us, not by fear of war, but by the certainty of our care and precision. The ships moved further into the dark expanse, leaving Xyler behind. The children were safe. The aliens were cautious. The Council had learned humility. And across the stars, humans' quiet, unstoppable strength became a legend, not of conquest but of protection, patience, and unyielding resolve. The galaxy would never forget. And in the silence of space, Anna whispered, the lesson is done. The legacy remains. Humans protect their own. Always. Ben, Lucy, Mark, and Sarah stood beside her, each quietly acknowledging the truth of it. Their work was done for now. But the galaxy had seen, understood, and learned. Human children were sacred, and any who dared to harm them would pay a price beyond imagining. The ships disappeared into the stars, leaving behind a universe that had been forever changed by quiet, precise, and unwavering human resolve. The lesson was simple, the message clear, and the legacy eternal. Humans protect their own above all else. And the galaxy had learned that lesson the hardest way possible.